Good afternoon, Drs. Meckley, Dries, and I hope I don't mispronounce your name, but Pedro. My name is Annie Hookman, and I was asked by Dr. Meckley to review your course like I would do for typical online courses at Kansas Wesleyan. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to go through sort of our procedure. So learning moment here in case you ever are interested in teaching a course sometime. I can walk you through what we typically look for and why we look for these things. So I did a PhD program at Kansas State a few years ago. I completed in 2017. And part of my coursework was in online course delivery. And since then, I have completed a instructional designer certificate program to be able to help Kansas Wesleyan with their online initiatives. I have reviewed several courses, both at Kansas Wesleyan and many courses through my instructional designer certificate program. So most of this stuff is really just best practice. It's been taken from years and years and years of online studies. So I'm just going to walk through briefly and give you my comments from what I look for from an instructional design perspective. So the first thing I do is I pull up your class, which I am in here, and then we have this rubric that we use. So there are actual rubrics that have been developed for a long time. We use Quality Matters. That's a standard institutional practice is to use something that has been tested, tried, and true. I have also used Open SUNY's rubric. And so a few months ago, Dr. Backlund asked me if I would be interested in creating one for Kansas Wesleyan. So I actually combined Quality Matters and the Open SUNY rubric and came up with this. This is what we use to review courses at Kansas Wesleyan. So, I guess I better change the name here for you guys. Darn it. I'll do that before I send it out. Okay. But there are different sections that we feel are necessary when we review online courses. And this is really just to deliver a quality product. So, being able to deliver a online class is no different than customer service at a restaurant. We need to ensure that there are certain things that are being met inside the class to determine quality control matters. So as you will see, there are things like just course overview, course design, course technology and tools, content and activity, interaction, assignments, and then in that, so QM uses a point system, and if you score over, I think it's like 78 points or something, then it's deemed a quality class. I don't really particularly like that approach. I think that doing something like this, which is more like an Open SUNY rubric, where we say, hey, these are some things that we need to make some revisions, or they're already there. And again, let me remind you, these are sort of best practices. It's not really saying, hey, you pass or fail, because courses are always constantly evolving. And so I didn't like the approach of a pass or fail class for course reviews. Like, I want faculty members to deliver a quality product. So I do not look at content. That is not my job. At Kansas Wesleyan, that job falls on the faculty member and the department chair. I am strictly looking at sort of big key constructs within the course itself. So this is not content driven. But I want faculty members to take ownership and pride of these classes. And so by going through and saying, hey, this is there or not there, and giving people a chance to sort of modify it or rethink it, to me is a better approach. Classes will constantly be changing. So, and then we have this action plan or things. This is kind of where I take notes of what I think you need to have there. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through all of this for you because I know this is just a senior project or some sort of capstone. But I did grade it as if I was doing an actual class that was being completed at Kansas Wesleyan. So first and foremost, when you do a online class, and I assume that this is online. So I'll point out some things that I think maybe you can do better at because it wasn't super clear for me. One of the first things you will typically always see is that most people like to have some sort of home screen here, so a home page. And typically we do things like maybe instructor bios or getting to know the professor a little bit, maybe a short little clip about, hey, you know, my name is Dr. Annie Hookman. I teach computer studies. Welcome to Intro to Networking. In this course, you will cover these types of things. I have 2 kids and I have a cat. And I like to run and be outside. And you kind of talk about those kinds of things. And it's a way for you to introduce the class and gain sort of a wow factor from the very beginning. This right here is like, man, we're down to business. These are the assignments. So it's not real inviting. And then how you break these out, it's really whatever it works best for the class. So you did weeks. I saw it was an 8-week class. That's fine. Some people do modules. Maybe there are certain things that they want to cover in a class and they're broken down by specific subsets. That stuff doesn't matter. So this is perfectly fine. I will say if you're actually going to teach an online class, the more specific you can be, the better. So week one is what? This is May 8th. So is it, you know, the week being May 11th through the 16th? Like what days are you going to start on? What constitutes a week? When are assignments going to be due? That may be how you want to do your week. So if you're going to have assignments due, and be consistent. So if you're going to have assignments due on Saturday at noon, then try to do all of your assignments at noon. So your week would, you know, run Sunday the 10th through Saturday the 16th. The next week would then run Sunday the 17th through Saturday the 23rd. So you may want to label these weeks. Anything you can do that would ease questioning from the students as far as being clear and concise, that would be helpful. So I came in here, chapter 1. I've actually looked at it. I started this video right here. It's great to use videos like this. YouTube is especially great because it does closed captioning for you. We're not super great because we don't have a lot of the resources for accessibility, but it is a huge key factor with online courses. Part of the disabled community could be that they have physical disabilities, and attending a traditional brick and mortar classroom is not easy for them and it's not efficient. So online classes help. So how are you going to then work with assistive technology to be able to deliver disability assignments, assignments to disability students? So videos are great from YouTube. You can do closed captioning. If you do your own, you're going to have some sort of closed captioning software. There's a lot of tips and tricks on using Microsoft products for accessibility. Microsoft has a lot of that stuff available built in. Canvas has a lot built in that you can use. So when you are setting up your pages, let's say I edit this, you add any sort of pictures in here. Over here, you can add text like that, so you can explain if they were using a screen reader. Those kinds of things are important when you're looking at online coursework. I'll go over the syllabus here in just a second also. So yes, everybody needs to have a printable syllabus. It's how they can store things. If they transfer, syllabi are sometimes needed for credit. So campus policies, that's all been built into our course shells. States duration of the course. So the Department of Education now requires, and HLC requires, that we do a seat time policy. It's something like 2,200 minutes. And this is pretty technical, but if you were actually to deliver this online, at the end of your syllabus, I would actually have to ask you to actually document this. So I'm going to go to the end since we're talking about that. And right here where you have all of this, so chapters and textbooks, You would actually have to document minutes, and then any sort of paper writing, discussion boards, any other assignment that you would give, you actually have to document all of that, and it needs to be documented. The syllabus is the easiest place, and that's where most people do it, and they do it in a table just like this. So this is a great start. You would absolutely have to do this if you were actually doing a class for real. Some things on here about the syllabus. How are students contacting you? So you have office hours. Are they contacting you by email? What's your email? Do you have sort of like Zoom set up or things like that? I also noticed you said it was online. I told you I wasn't quite sure if this was happening. You have a course meeting time. So does that mean they have to meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays at this time? Are you delivering synchronous material? That needs to be spelled out. If so, if you're not doing that, then it's asynchronous, and this stuff is irrelevant. Super important that you put down how fast you're going to return emails. Will you return emails over the weekends? Is it 24 hours? Things like that. You also need to do the same with your assignments. So if you give a paper, when do they expect feedback on that paper? A week time frame, 3 days? I mean, whatever you can do, you need to do it, and you need to stick with it. Otherwise, the syllabus was really actually pretty decent. Some just basic things here. Make sure you're super clear on all your assignments. I clicked on assignments and there were no instructions. You have a paper, but no instructions for the paper. How long does it have to be? Is it APA format? Do you want citations? You need to be as clear and concise as possible with all of these things. Redundancy, honestly, in an online class is great. So you have the syllabus. You could come over here and you could put the syllabus in here. And that's important. So there's all kinds of ways that you can lay these things out, and that becomes important. Things that are also important, technical skills. So having documents that talk about what they need to have, high-speed internet, Windows, whatever, any sort of technology privacy points, you can just create a document that allows you, to insert those things on the document, and you can just have it labeled in the files. And then make a link to a page that says something like privacy policies, copyright of materials, netiquette, all those kinds of things. Our school has all of these. Most departments that teach online all have this, so they all use the same thing. Looking at Bloom's taxonomy is a great way to develop higher order thinking skills, and then how you develop assessment pieces based on that is really how you tie those things in. And then we talked a little bit about, sort of netiquette and assignments, how you're going to grade, having rubrics if you're going to do that. One of the things I want to point out is, especially in classes like this, super important that you give an opportunity for students and classmates to get to know each other, because a lot of these courses are then based around dialogue. So it's important that people know people, understand people, ask thought-provoking questions when you're doing your bios and things like that, so you know where people are at. And in classes like this, I would encourage any faculty member or department chair to give differing viewpoints. That would be super important in something like this. You want students to explore these types of things. So giving them divergent viewpoints, when you're picking materials, pick materials that make kids think. What about this person? What about this thought? What about this approach? Those are super important, and that'll help you in your assessments also. Most of the rest of this stuff, it's all standard. So I hope this helps, that you don't just get a document from me that says, hey, here's what I did. And that by me explaining some of this and what we look for is actually helpful. I really enjoyed looking through this. It's a little bit different when it's for an assignment and it's not someone's actual class that's going live, so it was a little bit more fun. Hopefully I've shared some insight for you on why we do these types of things. And if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to email me or send them to Dr. Meckley or Dr. Dries, and they can send them to me because I think these are great learning opportunities. So great job.